Hello and welcome to this conversation brought to you by White House Custom Color. I'm Jed Toffer, and today I'm sitting with my friend Kenny Kim. How's it going, Kenny?
I'm doing well, Jed. Thanks for having me.
Can you tell me a little bit about, tell us a little bit about yourself? Because I know a little bit about you, but maybe some people who are listening do not.
Well, I'm a Chicago-based destination wedding photographer. I've been doing this for about 12 years now. And I just finished my 10th year talking at WPPI.
Is that right?
Yeah, I feel like an old timer now.
I talked to somebody a couple weeks ago, and I said, maybe this resonates with you because you just said that. I feel like that we are in part of this generation within industry that we're transitioning from, let's say there's 4 levels, right? And you have people that are brand new. Then you have people that have been around for a little while. Then you have people that are a little older, kind of been there and done that. Then you have like the veterans. So 4 levels,
The
right?
Hall of Famers.
Yeah, like the people that have really been around for a long time and remember, what it smells like to spend your days in the dark room, all that stuff, right?
Okay.
I feel like people like you and me are like between 2 and 3. Like we're making the transition between level 2 and going into level 3.
You're right. Sometimes I feel like I'm between level 3 and 4. But
you're not that old. You haven't been around that long.
But I've been talking to some of my colleagues who told me they've been around for about 28 years. And I guess WPPI has been around for about 29.
Yeah, almost 30 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So, wow, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I'm almost like halfway there, I guess.
What's it feel like to you? This is totally off script, but what's it feel like to you to be transitioning further and further into an industry or within an industry that itself has had so many big transitions? Because 12 years ago when you started, this was completely different.
Oh, it totally has. Oh, these days when I come to the conference, I feel like I'm stepping back a little bit and just watching everything unfold. Yeah. And I'm noticing the transition.
And you didn't do that before, you don't think?
No, I think initially I was caught up in the excitement of all the hoopla coming to a convention like this. Yeah. Meeting new people, checking out all the new products. It was exciting for me. It still is now, but it's like I feel like I see it as a different perspective. It's almost like, I guess, like raising your child or something, right? You kind of step back and you see them grow up, and you're just kind of proud of what it's become, kind of thing. Yeah. So So I think I just see it with a different pair of glasses.
See, that's one of the level 3 symptoms is that you are able to step back, I think, and see it from that perspective. Because you're right, when you come here for the first time, it's like a deer in the headlights. Right. Here at WPPI in Las Vegas, that's where we're at right now at Mandalay Bay. And it's so overwhelming. And then after a few years, it's just so exciting. You come out here and you go to a few classes if you can get up that early after the night before. Right. and it's you can get so caught up in it, right? But then after a while, you're still coming, you're still enjoying it, you're still getting a lot of takeaways, but you're looking at it from a higher point of view, maybe? Right.
Now I feel like I'm kind of running the marathon a little bit. Yeah. So coming to the WPPI is more like a family reunion, or just like a reminder and encouragement, to seeing all the other photographers still in the business, and we're still like encouraging each other, catching up, And
how important do you think is it to make the effort, these days in particular, to make the effort to come and travel to a place like this for the type of education that's offered?
I don't even think of it really as an effort. I feel like it's kind of like my year-long progress and kind of the list of things that I have to do. Yeah. Just like if you have to go to like a birthday party, or if you have to go to like your family reunion event. I just think of WPPI as one of those things.
Is that right?
February rolls around, I'm like, well, I gotta sign up. I gotta go.
Yeah, it's just it's an automatic.
Right.
So you would obviously then encourage people to make the effort, as opposed to, because I know that, again, something else that's different these days than 12 years ago is the amount of education that you can get online. Oh, and some of it
incredible.
For free. Right. But this is different.
It is, yeah. And I think it's really about connecting with people and networking, and learning from each other. I've had as much as wonderful classes that WPPI offers, sometimes I feel like I learn the best just by sitting down and talking with people at one of the social gatherings, or just
spontaneous
over a meal.
Conversation that was completely unplanned. You didn't see it coming.
Exactly. Right. Just the other day, I was sitting down with a wonderful photographer from Southern California named Rich Lander. this guy's killing it. I think he's, I don't know what level he's at, but I think he's somewhere between 2 and 3-2. Yeah. But he's killing it, and we've been friends for a while, and we actually met on social media, although we have a lot of mutual friends.
Right.
And we just started chatting, and next thing I know, he's just sharing all his like business tips with me. And I'm just like, man, this guy's
and you're just
awesome.
like taking it all in.
Exactly.
Keep going. I'm taking note of everything you're saying.
And I'm like scratching to myself. I'm like, I'm glad I didn't sign up for his $2,000 workshop.
Right. Because you're getting all the info for nothing.
Yeah. No, for those of you listening, you guys should totally check him out. But yeah.
Yeah. But that's what happens. You didn't plan on that, and he certainly didn't plan on that either.
Exactly.
But that's my experience too. You sit down with somebody and you start chatting, and all of a sudden, it just comes naturally to start sharing and gleaning and giving tip after tip and experience after experience, and that's a wonderful thing.
It really is.
It doesn't happen online the way that it does.
It's just the organic, the thing that just flows out naturally, and you're right. It is beautiful.
I'm glad to hear it. I just part of it's selfish. I just like to see people in person rather than chatting with them on the internet.
That's true too.
So. Destination weddings. That's kind of your deal this year. That's what you're all about. That's what you're focused on. Talk about that a little bit, just from a broad sense initially.
Well, destination wedding has become a very popular topic because I think photographers have this elusive dream about going to an exotic location and just photographing beautiful things and making it a beautiful trip out of it.
Right.
But what I try to help people actually when I teach this class is that destination wedding is not about you guys. It's really about the couple. So
I like that.
So I think I try to help them to see things in a different perspective. And destination wedding is actually defined as when a couple travels more than 100 miles from where they live to have a wedding.
More than 100 miles, okay.
Yeah, as opposed to us going somewhere and shooting a wedding. So I could be traveling to California, but if the couple flew me out there to shoot their wedding, then it's not really a destination wedding.
That's not considered a destination wedding if you're just going out to shoot in their hometown, right? Even if they live a ways away.
Yeah, I mean, it would feel like it for you as a photographer, but I think according to the Destination Wedding magazine, they're defining that as not something that counts towards that.
Okay.
But the good thing is that people that come to you are having a destination wedding. So in some sense, when I'm shooting weddings in Chicago, I am shooting a destination wedding
because they're coming from wherever.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And I always encourage people, because the number one question that I get from a lot of photographers is, how do I, start shooting destination weddings? And I tell them, start with your local market first. And just like how you always get, inquiries or from people just like walking up to you at weddings, asking for your business card, do the best you can as a photographer in your hometown. And believe it or not, you're going to start getting inquiries from the guests that are out of town that come to you who happen to be getting married and might want to just fly you out there.
Do you what sort of intentional efforts, if any, do you make to spur that on?
Not necessarily not any specific intentions, but I just try to treat all my clients as if, it's the only wedding that I'm going to shoot every year. And I just take very good care of them. And their testimonial goes a long way when it comes to getting new leads.
Well, and the other people are seeing, so they're experiencing it the same way, or at the same time, not necessarily in the same way, but they're there. They see what you're doing, right?
It's like an open interview. It's a live interview, and they're watching you work just to see how well you do.
I like that. You have a lot of great ways of putting things. I enjoy that.
Yeah.
So okay, I'm intrigued first of all by the destination wedding, coming from the perspective of the bride and groom and not the photographer. I had not really considered it that way. I was thinking if I go from Illinois to Tennessee, that's a destination wedding because I'm leaving, right?
Right.
But it's not necessary. That's not the case.
No, not at all. So, but anyways, I try to, obviously, but that perspective from the photographer is still there that, they're wanting to shoot that destination wedding and they want to travel. So, I try to teach them how to be a practical traveler, how to, prepare well to travel as a photographer.
Yeah.
But I try to help them paint a different picture as well about what this whole, destination category is all about.
Okay.
Yeah. And, obviously, as you do that, you're going to be able to end up going to, various locations that are exotic. That's destination for us as well as the couples.
So how does it start? What sort of marketing efforts, do you like bill yourself as a destination photographer specifically so people know?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the number of weddings that I photograph, I'd say it's only about 30 to 40% that are actual destination weddings.
Okay.
But I think it's good to always specialize yourself in something as an expert.
Mm-hmm.
So, even when people ask me, I just tell them I'm a destination wedding photographer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm based in Chicago. Mm-hmm. And, obviously, I'll still shoot, Chicago weddings, as they come.
Of course.
But when people hear that you're an expert, people kind of reach out to you. They kind of trust you to do the things that a destination wedding photographer would. So in order to prepare myself to do that, I have to become like an expert in traveler.
Right.
I have to be
efficiency is key type of thing.
Exactly, and also I have to be familiarized with the locations that I'm going.
Right.
So I actually invest my time by going to some of my favorite locations that I love to shoot weddings at. And I become an expert in that area, just so that when clients ask me, I can actually educate them and help them plan out, various things for the wedding.
So do you do much like on-site scouting, even like beforehand? Do you get in early?
Right. For locations that I've not been to, I do get there several days early.
Right.
And I'll check into my hotel and I'll plan out like a kind of like a photography route,
mm-hmm.
From the bride and the groom getting ready to where the ceremony is and where the reception is going to be. I kind of like, scope things out. I walk around or I drive around, to these locations to see if there's any like photographic spots I can take them to.
So be prepared.
Yeah. It's kind of like, preparing for an exam.
Right.
You're getting ready, to study everything.
Right, and you want to be ready. I mean, when it comes right down to it, and you're
mm-hmm.
and you're getting ready to photograph the couple,
right?
You got to know what you're doing,
right? And then another advice I give to photographers is that don't try to like just go all over the world and shoot in different locations everywhere.
Yeah.
I think eventually you're gonna get burnt out if you do that. So I tell them, you know what? Just think of like about 3 to 5 locations that you really enjoy going to, and that you just wouldn't mind vacationing, and then just focus on those areas for now.
And how do you focus just on those areas? Like, how do you narrow it down?
I just kind of close my eyes and I tell myself, like, where does my mind wander to? When I close my eyes and I think of the word vacation.
But I mean, like from a practical standpoint, with the bride and the groom, like, you,
mm-hmm.
how do you narrow where you're going to go down considering the fact that you don't know where people are going to want to go?
Right. Well, I study the market and find out where some of the popular destination locations are,
mm-hmm.
and then see if those kind of attract me.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, some of the locations I love going to are Napa Valley,
mm-hmm.
Hawaii, and Italy, and they happen to be in the top 5 category of location in terms of destination.
So are you working with people in those places locally to promote you?
Right. I do a lot of things actually to market myself.
Mm-hmm.
I may meet with the local vendors there.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of think of it as like advertising, and I invest myself by bringing myself out there and spending a few days in those locations, scouting out the location, looking at potential venues that I think would be fun to shoot weddings at.
Yeah.
I even create like a Yelp account for those local places.
Is that right?
Yeah. So when people look for a wedding photographer,
you'll come up.
Yeah, I'll come up on there.
That's an interesting idea. So if you wanted to break into a market, so to speak, let's say you just decided to add Savannah, Georgia to your list of potential spots where you would like to go.
Mm-hmm.
What's the first thing you do? How do you tackle that?
I would book a trip out there during the maybe the slow time of the year, and just so that I can go down there and become a tourist for a few days and just check out all the locations and to see what beautiful things are out there that I can look at, and then I would maybe check out some venues and think of like where do I want to shoot the weddings at. A lot of times I think hotel is a good way to get started because you can actually stay at the hotel.
Right.
And then if you want to meet the event planner, you can just request at the front desk.
Yeah.
You can even just kind of like say, I'm thinking like getting married here. Who would be the wedding planner that I could speak to? Right. And they'll get you in contact with the person right away.
Right.
And then so that when you do that, you meet with them. Then you just kind of explain to them who you are.
Right.
And then find out like if there's anything you can do for them, what kind of service you could provide.
Okay.
Or just to get them to know you so that you can have that face-to-face connection. Yeah. And you're not going to get something right away, I don't think.
Right.
Most of the times. But, you just never know what could come out of those kind of meetings.
It involves getting out there and kind of making it happen, right?
Right. Yeah. Like me getting my foot in the door in Napa Valley, it didn't just happen overnight.
Right.
It took me going there, several years for me to establish myself out there. And now I'm I'm one of the preferred vendors at several wineries out there because of that.
So that kind of covers booking your first destination wedding, or at least the finding your first destination.
Right.
What involves booking the actual first wedding?
What involves booking the actual first wedding? I think that's a tough question to ask also, because, it's like there's more than one ways to doing it. I would say another way to do it is just to meet as many people as possible. And I get so many, inquiries and leads, from just the people I met in my walks of life.
Right.
One of my biggest regret when I started in this career back in when I was 30, I thought that I got a little late start,
Because you thought you were older.
Yeah, I thought because I was older, and it wasn't my first career choice out of college. But looking back, I'm actually very thankful, because within those first, 8 to 10 years, when I was working and doing other things, I've had the opportunity to meet like several hundreds of people.
Right.
And, for the first few years, all my leads were coming from that. So I think, for people that are just starting out, especially when they're young, I think they need to experience life and just go out there and just meet as many people as possible.
So that covers the face-to-face stuff, and and that seems extremely important. What about using social media?
Social media is huge.
Okay. also a big deal.
Yeah, and that's another change that I've noticed over the past. When I used to give my talk, I used to suggest that social media is I recommend it, and I think you should add it to your business.
Right.
Nowadays, I've changed my message. If you don't have social media and incorporate it into your business, then you're not going to survive.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So it's become a necessity.
It is, yeah. And part of the reason is because most of our clients are millennials, or they call it Gen Y now, which are between the ages of 25 and 35. And they don't know what life was like without social media.
That's true.
They've incorporated into their life. We think of them as like tech junkies, or or they might be just kind of shallow, or they don't know how to have like a genuine relationship. But in reality is that is what's genuine for them.
Right.
Connecting with people over social media is what they're used to. People express themselves on social media, like just like you and I are having a conversation.
Right.
For them, going on social media or Snapchatting, they just pour their heart out. So
what platforms do you think are imperative?
I'd say Facebook and Instagram for sure. Twitter and other things like that, I'm still trying to figure out how to incorporate that into my business. But I've been able to just kind of dial down the Facebook and Instagram in a way that's helping me gain clients.
So not exposure. Necessarily Snapchat.
Snapchat I think is very popular as well, and I think it's one of the most number one used app out there. I'm still just trying to figure out exactly how to go about using that. I know about the geotagging and all those different things like that, but if anything, it's a great way for me to connect with having a conversation and to stay in touch with the clients and the potential clients.
So you put how much time do you spend on your social media presence, so to speak?
I think it's something I do almost like exercising. I do it on a daily basis. Yeah. I mean, it's the first thing I check when I wake up. You almost have to like schedule it into your workflow to spend the amount of time to make sure you're posting, make sure you're engaging,
right,
and make sure you're always you're staying on top of things.
Are hashtags a big deal?
Oh, they're huge.
They really are.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll show you one of the ways I use it for my wedding clients. As soon as they book me, I ask them what their hashtags are for their wedding.
For their wedding, yep.
Yeah, and statistically, they say about 53% of the bride and groom will put the hashtag in their wedding program. And the reason why they do that is because they want to see their wedding happen in real time.
Sure.
So obviously, hashtag will populate all the photos, from their wedding day.
Right.
Yeah. So people are just looking at their phone and experiencing, the wedding through looking at their phone.
They're watching it happen from other people's perspective throughout the day.
And I want to take advantage of that by using the hashtag, by incorporating a few of my images in there as well. So obviously you're going to kind of like scroll through a ton of bad photos, and all of a sudden they're going to see mine, and it's going to kind of like jump out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to, like subtly get myself, into the mix, and people might be looking for a photographer at the wedding could see that and provide them an avenue for them to reach out to me.
Are you there by yourself typically?
Weddings? No, I always have an assistant with me, a second shooter.
So you have somebody that's second shooting and assisting. And do they help you out with keeping up with social media in real time as this is happening throughout the day?
No, I do it by myself mostly.
You do that piece by yourself.
Yeah, and what I do is I use the Instagram story quite a bit because those they don't take much effort. It's just snapping a quick video or photo. And then the Monday after the wedding is done is when I post something about the wedding.
Sure.
And put a little bit more meaningful content
more
on
of
it.
a curated photo on the on the actual timeline.
But before I even do that, what I do for my clients is I actually send them kind of like a highlight of watching a sport game.
Yeah.
If you missed out on in the game or you don't want to see the entire thing, you want to provide them with like a little bit of highlights. So as I'm downloading all the images and backing it up, I'll select about 20 to 30 photos and I'll send it to them immediately that night. So then they have the content and the tool for them to be able to share their experience. Because I noticed that they spend the whole day celebrating and enjoying the wedding day, and then they want to continue on the celebration.
Right.
So where's the after party?
Yeah.
It's on social media, and that's where they go to kind of relive the whole experience. So I want to give them tools for them to be able to use. Because if I don't do that, they're just going to go online and look for their friends' like terrible photos that they posted and they got tagged in.
Yeah.
And I would hate for me to lose out on an opportunity of
to take advantage of that.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly. I like that too. What about getting your work published in more of a traditional fashion?
Yeah, I think getting your work published is a great thing. I almost always encourage to tell people that if you can, try to get it published online instead of the traditional publication.
Instead of that, okay.
Yeah.
So I was thinking magazines, but you're talking.
No, magazines are great, and I think it's wonderful. But I would always make sure that if they publish you on print, make sure that there's an online version of that as well. And if you can't, just don't worry about it and just publish yourself by posting things on the blog, because those things stay on there forever, and it becomes searchable, and it has much more wider audience than being in the print magazine, because after few months or so being on the shelf, it disappears and no one will most likely be able to find you again.
So how much effort should somebody put into maybe soliciting various companies? I know there's Junebug and The Knot and all these different places where people can be seen.
Right.
How much of that is typically them reaching out to you as opposed to the other way around?
I think it usually is the other way around, but that's another reason why I encourage people to work on their social media presence, because that does affect.
And that's where they'll see you.
Yeah, that's where they'll see you. They'll and I don't want to say that like popularity is what attracts the audience, but it really is true. The more visible you are, people are going to want to partner with you. They're going to want to work with you. So you got to take advantage of that while you can.
Do you think that doing destination weddings is a bigger deal to different companies? I mean, are they drawn to people that do destination weddings as opposed to people that don't?
That's a good question, actually. I'll have to think about that a little bit.
Like, is that a selling point maybe for them? Are they like, it's going to be, people are interested in seeing destination weddings more?
Yeah, maybe because you have various ways to partner with other brands and companies. I guess, if I travel a lot, maybe an airline company might want to work with me in helping them promote each other or cross-promote. I didn't really think too much about that category, but that's...
Yeah, that question just popped into my mind.
Okay.
What I saw some do's and don'ts. I always like do's and don'ts. Can you go over some do's and don'ts regarding the wedding day weekend with destination weddings in particular?
On the day of itself, I try to encourage people or the photographers to plan out a schedule for the wedding day. You have the opportunity to do that when you travel, and you can actually sit down with your couple in advance and figure out a timeline of what the best route for photography will be. I encourage to tell people to also not, if possible, spend all day shooting photos, even though it sounds like a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
I tell my clients, you know what? All these people traveled from around the world to spend the day with you.
Right.
Why do you want to waste it just, capturing photos all day?
Right.
Let's just take some wonderful photos. I want you to enjoy the day. And then on another day, which gives me an opportunity to stay longer at locations that I go to, on another day, let's go and just make some beautiful photos together then.
Okay.
That way there's no pressure.
So not
both
the
of us.
wedding.
Yeah, not on the other day.
Not the wedding day.
Yeah, because it's almost impossible. I mean, you're getting ready maybe at a resort. We don't have the time of the day to go around the island or the location that we're at to be able to take all those photos, because that'll take like pretty much like half of your day by doing that.
And are most people excited about that piece? That
they love the idea, especially the groom, because the guys want to just hang out and have a good time with their friends.
Right.
Exactly.
That's so true.
Yeah. So when you provide that option to them, they almost always say yes.
Yeah.
And I come up with some of my best work, when I do these photo shoots.
Well, because then you don't have the pressure either. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah. Because I don't have to think of things like right away on the spot, and then you got the pressure of dealing with everyone around you the whole day.
And so, are they typically decked out? They're wearing their
they wear the same
tux
outfit
and their gown. Is that usually before the wedding day then?
I try to do it after, because a lot of times they don't want to see each other before the wedding day.
Right.
Especially the wedding dress.
Right. So you are doing that after, and it's usually if there is usually a destination, also the honeymoon. Like they don't leave the destination; they're there.
Yeah, they usually stay a couple days longer, anyways.
So they're there anyway.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, and the only thing that bride really has to do is redo her hair and makeup.
Right.
She still has a dress. The flower. As soon as the ceremony is done, you can just take it away and keep it in the
nice.
fridge. Yeah.
Right. So, right. That's interesting. You don't want because you don't want to toss that bouquet.
Right.
And have it get destroyed.
Right.
You got to keep that for the photos the next day.
Well, if not, they can always make another bouquet for them.
Sure. So, interesting. What about don'ts?
Don'ts. Oh gosh, I don't. I think I kind of mixed a little bit of both in there, didn't I? Or
probably. I didn't know if you had like anything that you're like, don't do this, or make sure you don't do this piece.
Well, if anything, I just give them a lot of various advice, like when it comes to travel, you should do this, you should do that, kind of things like that. I don't really remember giving any specifically like don't.
Do you feel like they're using you? Like typically a bride and groom are also using you for advice because of your experience?
I think so,
traveling?
Because I wear a lot of different hats. I'm not just a photographer, while I'm there with these guys. I mean, I'm part of their family, really, that kind of comes along and takes all the nice photos for everyone. Well, and
especially if you've been there before, to some degree, you're kind of like a travel agent. Like, this is where we should go, or this is when we should do this.
Right. So, I think in that, there's a bunch of like kind of a don'ts in that sense.
Sure. No, that makes sense. What about just travel tips? Because like if people are going, like you said, you like to pack light.
Right.
So you can't take a lot of lights or equipment or whatever that you might typically do if it was just across town.
Right. So for that, I made a mistake in the beginning of just going to random like third-party websites and booking just the cheapest possible ticket that I can find, to go to these locations.
Right.
In the beginning, I thought I was doing the clients a favor by trying to find the least expensive flight.
Right.
But that was a big mistake for me, because I think flying with one airline actually helps a lot, because you earn status. And I'm not earning status just to like say that I'm a Premier 1K or anything like that, but it really makes traveling easier when you do that.
Sure.
When you can check in more than 2 bags, without worrying about going overweight. Being one of the first ones to be able to board on the plane ensures me that I can bring on my camera gear safely.
And you have space up top and whatnot.
Because sometimes if you're one of the last ones to board the flight, you run the risk of not being able to put it over over space, and you have to gate check it. And
right, and there aren't a lot of people on that plane that have $4,000 or $8,000 worth of equipment in their bag.
Exactly, and I've heard stories of people like breaking their gear because the airline baggage person just tossed their bag like it was a sack of rice or something. Yeah,
well, that's what they do.
Yeah.
That's a really good. That's actually a really good tip too. You got to get on that plane early for that, for some space.
So just invest a little bit, even if it's just a few extra dollars, to book that one ticket. And try to stay with one airline, and particularly an airline that's kind of hub to where you're at, that flies to various locations. That's the one you probably want to stick to.
So you're United, I'm assuming.
I am. Yeah.
Out of Chicago. Sure, that makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Where can people find you online? What are your tags and your website and?
Well, my website, if you go to kennykim.com, it's just been actually recently redesigned I use Showa sites. And my designer, Julie Smith, used templates that were made by Melissa Love, who is a designer for Showit.
Awesome.
And they put together this beautiful website. And you can find pretty much all my social media links on there as well.
What's your Instagram in particular?
Kenny_Kim.
Yep.
Or if you love food and wine and traveling like I do, I have just a personal site that I created called Photo Venture Tours.
Nice.
And you can go there to find out, where I'm up to. And I actually, on the side, do these photography tours for anyone that's interested in photography and that wants to experience, Italy and their food and their wonderful culture in a different way.
And they can get to that through your website as well?
Yes. I started doing this for photographers in the beginning, but I found that, people of all different professions are interested in photography.
And food
exactly,
and travel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I kind of left it, wide open for anyone to join. So now I've got, just people of different backgrounds just coming on these tours.
That's a great combination.
And I even have some of my clients actually that were
coming back with you. Sure.
Coming back with me. So it's a great time.
That's awesome. Hey, I tell you what, thanks for doing this with me today. This was a lot of fun, a lot of good tips.
Oh, thanks, Chad. I appreciate it.
And have a great rest of the convention while we're here in Vegas.
I will. You as well.
All right. Have a good one.
Thanks.